The year began on a very sad note for residents in Benue State, and since then, Benue and several other states have witnessed a rising wave of killings.
Yes, indeed. Now, this day newspaper compiled a chronology of deaths in the last 4 months and discovered that 901 persons have been viciously murdered in Benue, Taraba, Kaduna, mostly southern Kaduna, Kwara, Plateau, Nasarawa, Niger, Kogi, and Adamawa. The deaths were mostly caused by suspected herdsmen, militia, who have ceaselessly attacked helpless Nigerians, while others were killed under different circumstances, such as the armed robbery attack in Ofa, Kwara, and ethno-religious clashes. Now, the death toll, however, excludes those who died from Boko Haram attacks in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states.
Yep, that's correct.
Of course, including illnesses, childbirth,
Yes,
cholera, Lassa
fever,
among so many other disease outbreaks.
Let us now bring in a security expert, Ona Ehomu, to talk to us more about the herdsmen crisis and all of that, its implications on in the long term, if not properly dealt with. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for having me.
All right, then. Let me start by asking, the last NEC meeting, open grazing was banned by the federal government with a view to helping to curb the problem of herdsmen attacks. Do you think, as a security expert, that this will help the cause?
Yes, the government's decision or the NEC decision was meant to remove the fuel, if you may, that is feeding the fire of these attacks, the horrific figures you just gave there. The herdsmen themselves have stated that it is the lack of access to grazing rights or grazing land that's making them take violent action. So if you remove the reason, because they insist that it's their right, because from colonial times that had been the tradition. So if you say, since NEC now comes out and says, okay, you can't graze openly in those places, let us do ranching, which was the option that they recommended or suggested to the herders, then perhaps that will start, because they will see that there's a new reality in town, because when the statements that were being made that, it's their right to graze, how do you want them to raise their cattle and all that, those kind of statements will now not have legitimacy anymore in the eyes of the herders, and they'll say, okay, you know what, maybe we'll have to adjust to the new set of rules that are being made.
There have been calls for a declaration of an emergency in Benue, especially. That seems to be the focal point of this herdsmen attacks. And the president, in visiting Donald Trump just within the last 48 hours or so, do you think he's said enough in terms of asking for help, immediate help from the U.S. and maybe other countries to help in ending this herdsmen attacks?
Well, thank you, Ngozi. The question, you have a loaded question there. Well, first of all, let's look at the issue of state of emergency. I think that's totally uncalled for, because this is an invasion from outside the state. This is an invasion by armed militia. This is a failing, really, of the security agencies to protect the citizens of this country. So if anyone is to be sanctioned, it's not the governor or the local government chairman or whoever it is, that the elected officials in that state that should be sanctioned. It should be the security officials who failed in their duties in the first place to provide security for citizens of Benue State. Now, it's not their fault that they chose them as a target. God gave Benue lush vegetation, which the cattle seem to love. So it doesn't make them fair game for that kind of an attack. Now, the other side of your question is the visit to the U.S. president. Now, our Mr. President said that the Libyan conflict produced a lot of hardened fighters who kept their arms, who took their arms away, and who are prosecuting these wars, perhaps either in their behalf or in behalf of those who call them in around Nigeria. These are the armed militia. We call them foreign militia. They come in across the borders when they are called up, and then they come and do a job. You know, that's why they are really very brutal. And then they take off, or they go and hide somewhere. They kind of calm down, and then when it's time, they attack again. So just to that question there, the point is, and then the president, our president, President Buhari, also mentioned that the fact that we have porous borders is facilitating the movement of these criminals, these terrorists.
Yeah.
So I don't think that, I think that's just kind of creating awareness about the Nigerian condition. But I think he was in that statement calling out our security chiefs that we needed to do more in terms of securing the borders and in terms of being able to cover ungoverned spaces, which is what is facilitating their movement. Because these guys don't move on highways. They just go through the bush and arrive wherever they want to arrive, kill the people they want to kill, and then take off. So that's why you don't have soldiers interdicting them or police personnel interdicting them when they are traveling on highways with their arms and all that. So that's really the difficulty here. Now, the third element of your question, international help, I think the president could have been a little more forceful in terms of his seeking international help. I mean, and that help, I guess he has gotten already in the form of the Toscano helicopters, which the U.S. president kind of emphasized that Nigeria is going to get that kind of help from us. Well, I guess we've paid, and we're going to get it. I hope they could help us by speeding up the delivery time. That's really the help that we have needed from the U.S. at this time.
All right. Well, I was going to make reference to what you just talked about now, President Buhari's allusion to the herdsmen, the crisis in Libya, that it's been clearly put at the doorstep of the militiamen migrating from that region. I wanted to ask, did it make any meaning to you, that response? And two, creation of forest guards, is there a sense in which they can help in solving the problem since these guys don't go through normal routes?
Thank you, Mr. Ikechukwu. I think the difficulty here, first of all, the Libyan crisis. Where that figures in here is that this had been going on for a while. This new spin of Libya is perhaps something that the president is introducing, and the president says that that was the source of weaponry. I think we should be very clear in analyzing his language. However, these headers come from Mali, they come from Burkina Faso, they come from all over West Africa. Now, remember, these are the same Sahelian countries which have been embroiled in conflict, from Niger, certainly Chad, even Sudan. Some come from CAR. Some have been arrested that come from CAR. Now, remember, these are the same places that have been having all these armed conflict problems. They are battle-hardened fighters. You have Mujiwa. Mujiwa is Movement for the Unity of Jihad in West Africa, running operations from in the whole Sahelian zone, let's just put it that way, all the way to Ethiopia, to Somalia in the east. That's from Mauritania in the west, all the way to Somalia. So what I'm saying is, we've had this problem. In fact, if you remember when this government first came into office, the Chief of Army Staff, General Burutai, said that these are foreigners coming in here to fight, and he was right. It wasn't wrong at all. People took issue with it at the time, but he was right. He had said it. I mean, if you go back and look at historical statements that have been made by several government officials, they've acknowledged that. And so the president was only saying what had been acknowledged, except that he now said Libya is the source of weaponry for these killers. Now, I think so. That's just that context there, because these fighters have been coming in. They are a militia. They are well organized, and they have mobile phones, and they just call them and they say, "Oh yeah, keep coming. We got a problem. in Ngozi's village, and then they go and attack Ngozi's village. Well, I'm sorry, Ngozi, they will attack your village.
Amen. I say big amen to that.
I will say that I think the issue that you raised about the
forest guards. Forest guards.
Yeah.
You know, it depends again. Frankly, the problem of ungoverned spaces is not a problem for forest guards or any of those guards. It's purely is a problem of re-architecturing the security of the country. You know, understanding that all these kidnappings, all these herdsmen crises, all the violent robberies, in fact, all the problems we have are a result of that. Because if you don't govern a space, what happens? Nature abhors a vacuum. Some other person will go in there and govern it. And that's what is happening. Because if you see, that's why these violence and jihadi and extremism grew in all that Sahelian belt because of the same problem, ungoverned spaces. So we don't want ungoverned spaces here. But these guys cannot be armed well enough. That's the problem with the forest guards you are talking about. They can't be armed well enough. We used to have forest guards in this country, but they were to check timber magnets from over, you know, from stealing timber. That's what they were. Even I think in Ondo State we still have them because there's a lot of timber in that area. I know they used to have them in Edo State. I don't know which other states where they have them, but anywhere you have a lot of logging activity going on, you normally will have forest guards who will guarantee it. They used to be a part of the Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources.
Yes.
In states. So, but those guys are not armed. Those guys are not. They are not going to be able to withstand a militia.
Okay.
So this architecture. Please, just 1 second. The architecture we have now is that we should come up with a new approach whereby citizens will be able to call out their distress early enough, and now with the kind of air assets that the Nigerian government is procuring, we can have faster response. Now, government does not mean that we must have soldiers at every point or police at every point. It just means that we have an architecture which makes response to emergencies quicker and faster.
And we seem to have conflicting information as to when this Tucano aircraft will be delivered. We hear from the company, the U.S. company, that it will not be until the end of 2019. No, is it 2020 as a matter of fact? Yeah, 2020. And we've heard from Donald Trump that they'll be here as soon as possible when he was asked exactly when those aircraft will be here. But that aside, the part of the strategy that you're talking about, would it include an outright sack of security chiefs, that many Nigerians are calling for, including the National Assembly? Or what seems to be the weakest link in this fight against not only herdsmen, killers, but also Boko Haram, as a matter of fact?
Well, I think the issue of who should be at the head of agencies is the prerogative of Mr. President. And if Mr. President is happy with what the job the guys are doing, and I will say the guys have worked very hard, particularly in relation to the Boko Haram conflict. Now, the headers conflict, the problem we really have there is not personnel problem, nor not issue of who is the big boss there. The problem is poor problem definition. The problem is not properly defined. The problem is not acknowledged, because if you don't define a problem properly, you now commit what we call in research design the error of the third type. That is probability of solving the wrong problem. And that's where we are right now, where we call it all kinds of names. We call it everything. We say, oh, it's it's communal crisis. We say all kinds of things, but we don't really put our finger on it. Now, this is a foreign invasion. Let me just tell you what it is, Ngozi. It's a foreign invasion of this country. And it's unfortunate that we are not willing to just own up to it and say, look, we are being invaded, let us fight back. And this is because, I think perhaps because it's just happening in Benue State, it's not, and maybe in also a few other states, perhaps when it does happen closer to some people who have the duty to properly analyze security threats to this country, there may be, and then the vulnerabilities, because the vulnerabilities that are making it easy for these people to come in. vulnerabilities being some of these ungoverned spaces I've talked about. Maybe then we'll have better solution to the problem. But you, the media, you're also helping out because by beaming spotlight on these problems, you are making the government realize that there's an important problem. And I like the analysis that the paper you referred to just then did, where they actually brought up statistics. Sometimes if you just say 10 people killed here, 75 in Agatu, and this here, this, you know, you read last week they killed the Reverend Father and 17 in the church.
Yes.
You know, you really don't get the feeling that there's large, now let me use the word that the government likes to use, decimation of our population. Now this is really decimation, not that business we are doing with Boko Haram.
So if we are facing a foreign invasion, how should Nigeria respond to this kind of foreign invasion?
Well, the first thing, ma'am, is if you are being invaded by foreigners, then you should go on war footing. The federal government should declare that we are at war with foreign invaders. And that's how you mobilize a population. Everybody now starts, everybody gets on the lookout. You put out information that enables people know what to look out for, you know, in form of these foreign invaders. But when you are saying it's business as usual, it's like brother and brother are fighting. It's not the same as an armed robber and a house owner is fighting. It's not the same. If brother and brother they are fighting, they can be lenient. They will remember their bloodlines. That's what's happening here. We are being, you know, we are being deceived by ourselves. It's self-deception by thinking that, oh, these are just our brothers, and they just need grazing route. And the kind of narrative I hear on television or even in the open media that, these guys, these rats have been here, the people come from this thing. Well, anyway, I thank God that within the last couple of weeks also, the Minister of Interior in a conference recently has said that they are going to revisit the ECOWAS protocol, which is giving these guys right to come in. But that's the animals. I have no problem with the animals coming in. If ECOWAS protocol says so, it's the herders, the killers, it's the militia, the terrorists, you know, that I have a problem with. And those are the people who should focus our attention on.
All right, Doctor, just to reiterate the point that you made earlier, and the point that I also tried to bring up when I talked about the forest guards, that even though, just as you submitted, that they are not armed, but they can help in the process of raising alarm, that will help in quick responses to attack situations. Well, that being said, the House of Representatives sometime last week came out with a resolution that these herdsmen should be declared as terrorists so that we know that we are dealing with terrorists. And that will go a long way in helping the security apparatus to know how to attend to them. What do you think?
Oh, very sound resolution. I got to say, the House, you know, that's a very sound resolution. They're up on it. They understand. I think that's why we have the House of Representatives, because it has all these people who represent smaller constituencies. So the constituents are affected. They feel it, you know, a little bit closer. But, you know, the Senate, well, they have 3 senators per state. So if you are killing a lot of people in some parts, some will just say, well, just a few dead, and so on and so forth. I don't think they are that insensitive, but I'm saying they are not as close to the constituents as the House members. And so I think that's why you see that feeling, that passion coming from that community, that these are, you know, these are my people that are being slaughtered, and they are terrorists doing it. I mean, that's it. It's a T word. It's not, these are no headers, these are terrorists. These are foreign invaders, these are Mujiwa fighters, hardened fighters, like Mr. President described them to Mr. Trump. Battle-hardened fighters, and they are merciless killers. So they have no business, you know, in Nigerian villages slaughtering people. And we're going to have more carnage if we don't do something about this.
Yes, indeed, more carnage. Now, in spite of the Operation Cat Race, the killings have continued. What exactly is wrong?
The architecture, in 2 words, like I said, the architecture. Cat Race is running patrols. Cat Race, I think there's another thing we need to consider here.
Yeah.
Cat Race is a rapid response operation, not a proactive security operation. A proactive security operation will go into the bushes, will do search, will use multiple assets to locate the perpetrators and bring them to justice. So in fact, sometimes I find it funny when he said that we'll locate these people and bring them to justice. You can't, because they've melted away. So these perpetrators have to be located and brought to justice. And cat race is a rapid response. Cat race was designed as, if a community is in trouble, call us, we'll come to you. But the problem most of the times, like those 19 worshippers that morning, who were they going to call? And how are they going to call them? We don't have a 911 system. We don't have, we don't have good deployment of our security assets throughout the land. The deployments are concentrated in urban areas. These people were in some village in Gua, East local government. So you understand what I'm saying? So if it were Makurdi, they were having that problem, and assuming they were able to call out to Aya Patume, then they probably would have gotten a response. But they couldn't, and they didn't, because they were just slaughtered, on their knees while they were praying, and it's really unfortunate. So just in 2 words, security architecture, that is what is wrong.
All right, before now, the narratives, people have been calling for, just before the House of Representatives came to that conclusion, people, security experts and concerned Nigerians had been calling for a naming of these people, if you like, as terrorists, which they should be. But the Information Minister, Lai Mohammed, talked about the reason that the government has been reluctant in doing so, and that his submission was that the activities of these herdsmen haven't been as deadly as that of terrorists. But I think that time has proved him wrong. But the question I want to ask you is that why do you think that the government is this reluctant to do so? IPOB, that had no such intentions, was declared a terrorist organization, and so they were shut down completely. But why is it taking so long to declare these people who have been killing people in this fashion as terrorists? Hello, doctor. Hello, doctor.
Okay, we seem to have lost contact with Dr. Onai Homu there. We might have to leave it there. Like he has said, Nigeria is actually facing an external aggression. That really is what it's all about. And it's time for Nigeria to see it for what it is, so that it can determine our own reaction or response to these killings all across Nigeria.
I think, like I said, the militant pastoralism that we are seeing, or terroristic pastoralism, that's what I like to call them in some research I do, is being misdefined or misunderstood. That is why the Minister of Information came up with this narrative that these are not terrorists, they are just businessmen trying to figure out a way to do their work. Now, when you say that, you are looking at only at our nomadic pastoralists, that is the local guys here, or the people who, that is the ones who migrate from the north-south, or the people who actually live in communities. Like in my own home community in Edo State, we've had pastoralists living there for the last 20-some years. I go home every Christmas and I buy cow from them. And they are nice guys. They even know me. They know when I come. They even text me and call me. And they bring cows. So those guys have no business with militancy. They are normal businessmen. But the problem here is when those nomadic guys move around and they have encounter problems with certain communities, they call in the militia. So that's what the one I refer to, militant pastoralism. They call in the militia, who instead of using, in fact, Mr. President said it rightly when he was sitting with Mr. Trump. He said, pastoralists are supposed to herd cattle with stick, not with AK-47. He's right. These guys are not pastoralists. They are not carrying sticks. They are carrying AK-47 rifles. And that makes them clearly terrorists. I think the minister's briefers or handlers have not briefed him properly. And then certainly he should get input from his security agencies, NSA, Office of NSA, from Interior. And in fact, even they should get consultants who are sized with information. They have a lot of elite institutions, have Defense College in Abuja, you have the schools in Jaji. And so they should be able to distill information before making such pronouncements. They should be able to distill information, from these sources, so that the kind of information they give to the public is accurate and is meaningful. Because when you put out, that's why a lot of people use the word propaganda when they talk about some of the information that is being put out by this government, because it sounds just like it, and because it doesn't have a lot of backing to it. It doesn't have what we call argument warrant, or 2 means argument warrant, if you may.
All right, let me take you back to what you said much earlier. Of course, you just mentioned militant pastoralists. That is one part of the multiple dimensions to this herdsmen killings. You say it's foreign invasion that we're facing. What is at the core of this foreign invasion? What do those who are attacking Nigeria, what do they aim to achieve?
They just want their payday. They get paid. Again, I just said to you, let me go back to that example, that hypothetical example I gave. If the pastoralists in your village, for example, have problem with their hosts, now what some of them do is call the invaders. Come, we have a wahala here. And those ones will come calling very fast. They respond very fastly, and they come there and kill as many people. That's how you got that problem in Nimbu and all that. Because people had given information to the police that, look, there is a sentiment here. It was the local pastoralists who called in the invaders that we are going to be attacked soon, which the government passed on to the police commissioner, and which nobody took seriously, like we normally do. Yeah, we don't take security issues seriously. And so the attack occurred. And so that's really what this situation is about here. That they get paid. What do they do? They get paid. After they shoot the people, they give them some cattle, they hand them back. So Nigeria, we are getting a double wham here. A very dangerous thing. One, the pastoral militants come in to attack and kill our citizens here. Now, in the northwest of the country, Zamfara, Kebbi, all those states there, Birnin-Gwari trough, that's the Birnin-Gwari, that's southern Kaduna. They come in there and they do cattle roasting. They kill the owners of cattle and carry the cattle away. So they are exporting our cattle by force and importing violence to us here to help their brothers or their friends or their employers. Let's call it that. That's really who they are. Their employers who call them to come and visit violence on us. So, I mean, it's because Nigeria is so porous. That's really what it is. That's the bottom line, porosity. All
right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much, security expert Dr. Ona Ehomu, shedding even more light on this herdsmen attacks for us.